Phase 2 now, the phony Democrat Trump-Putin narrative. Predictably, right on cue, members of Congress are attacking the 45th president even after his clarifying statement about Russian meddling in the 2016 election.
Given evidence, indictments, and facts, the president was given the choice of taking America's side or taking President Putin's side. And the president chose Putin. To then go on and take President Putin's side in defending the Kremlin's attack on the United States, an attack which this Congress, our intelligence and law enforcement agency, our allies and the American people know, in fact, took place, was nothing short of treasonous. The president has proven himself unable to separate his own personal interests from his current job as leader of the free world, and has consistently, repeatedly, and now in full view of the world, definitively put his own interests above those of the United States, the free world, by siding with the petty, anti-democratic dictator of our international rival.
It is clear that the Russians invaded and altered the election of 2016. It has been stated by our intelligence community, Director Coates, that at least they invaded and impacted, and that they're doing it now. It is time for the Congress to ask or subpoena the translator's notes. It is time for us to have a detailed relaying to the Congress in classified manner what were the contents, what were the discussions, what were the agenda items, what was said in the meeting singly by our president and President Putin.
Choosing Russian President Vladimir Putin over our own intelligence agencies begs questions that we should never have to ask about an American president. What does Putin have on President Trump? Is he literally being blackmailed? Do we have a Manchurian candidate as our president? It's difficult to imagine any other explanation for Trump's constant bowing and scraping at the feet of the Russian dictator.
It's comedy night. So what is happening here is the Democrats view this scripted and fake controversy over Russia as yet another avenue to impeachment. That's all this is. Democrats couldn't care less about national security. After all, they are the ones why we had sequester. Remember that Obama-era beauty? No, this is about degrading and destroying the Trump presidency, which is, in the end, the entire focus of the national Democrat machine. And we know why, don't we? Joining me now from Washington, D.C., professor of African American Studies at the University of Maryland and political commentator, Jason Nichols, Ph.D. Jason, I can answer my own question. I know why the Democrats are attacking so ruthlessly the President of the United States, because they have nothing on which to run on the November election cycle. They have nothing. All they can do is attack the president and his policies. They tried to say the tax cuts didn't work. Oh, wait a minute. The economy's now booming. That's not working. They tried to attack on health care. Now, wait a minute. People have more freedom with health care. They've tried so many different avenues. This is all they got.
Well, I think you and I have a very different perspective on a lot of these things. I think our economy is in good shape right now, but we don't know what's going to happen in terms of how these tariffs are going to play out. There are a lot of other issues, of course, family separation and immigration, where the president has fumbled the ball and did not have a plan, kind of like when he went into this meeting with Vladimir Putin, who was, you know, pretty much outmatched him, outwitted him, and made him look like an amateur. And so I really think that this is not about trying to find issues to run on. I think there are plenty of issues to run on. I think what's going on is that the president made a series of errors in terms of this summit in Helsinki. Number one, he usually, as usual, he did not have a clear plan and agenda. He did not have anyone else in the room to advise him. And this is why I think that we do need to subpoena those interpreters. And of course, in the press conference, you know, the comments that he made were absolutely unacceptable. So I think we have plenty to run on aside from all of that.
Well, that sounds like a laundry list of anti-Trump to run on to me. As far as the agenda is concerned, I've heard Democrats harp on this a lot. It sounds a lot like the Obama agenda when he would sit down with Vladimir Putin. Didn't necessarily have agenda items to talk to. What Obama was trying to do was to establish a relationship. And in December of 2016, President Obama, discussed this. He was asked at one of his final news conferences regarding Vladimir Putin and Russian meddling. And this sounds vaguely familiar to me vis-a-vis what is going on today. I want you to listen. Roll tape.
Hacking that could hamper vote counting, affect the actual election process itself. And so in early September, when I saw President Putin in China, I felt that the most effective way to ensure that that didn't happen was to talk to him directly.
All right, so we glean a couple of things here from President Obama. Number one, he talked to him directly, privately, as did President Trump. He didn't get a lot of grief for that regarding Russian meddling. And number two, that he admitted that he knew about the Russian meddling pretty early on, at least well before the election cycle of 2016 ended.
Well, I would agree with you that there are more things that President Obama could have done, but this is classic whataboutism. The other thing I would say is that President Obama did do certain things and has been tougher or was tougher on Russia in terms of he expelled 35 diplomats and has imposed sanctions upon Russia. Now, again, President Trump is who we're talking about right now. And one thing that President Obama never did was throw his intelligence community under the bus and cast doubt on their findings about Russia and take the word of a dictator who murders his own citizens.
All right, no, that's a
so
good
I think
point.
that this is
good point, Jason. But the Russian meddling took place under Obama's intel community. And that would be Brennan, who's out there throwing firebombs, verbal firebombs via Twitter, like treasonous. This happened under Obama's watch.
Yeah.
All of this meddling, all of these attacks on our electoral system. It happened under Brennan. It happened under Comey. It happened under the Obama administration.
So, well, look, I would agree with you that I will say that the word treason is a loaded word. It's not quite the terminology that I would use at this particular juncture. I think we do need to find out more about what happened in that meeting, find out more about, I think this is a perfect time for the president. If he wants to show his legitimacy, he should release his tax returns. He should be very transparent with the American people. You know, this is the time for transparency to show, look, I am the legitimate president of the United States. I misspoke, which we all know that he didn't misspeak. That's absurd. But, you know, if he really wants to commit to these lies, then he should go ahead and do it.
It's funny, for the Democrats, the Trump tax returns are like the folks who were going after Obama's birth certificate. I don't think it's ever really, really going to happen here. You know, the bottom line, though, I think, Jason, you would admit, I think that the mainstream media's coverage of what happened with Putin was a lose-lose, pre-scripted scenario that no matter what this president did, they were going to come out and criticize, and the Democrats were going to do the darn same thing. Jason, out of time. Thanks.